Joining us now is Phil Van Cleave. Well, he's been on our show many times. Phil is the head honcho, the president and CEO of the VCDL, Virginia Citizens Defense League. And we're going to be talking about sanctuary cities, but not the kind you think about. Virginia has a movement underfoot in various counties and cities to create sanctuary cities for gun owners, not for illegal immigrants. Joining us now to see if he can make sense of this is Phil Van Cleave of the VCDL. Hey, Phil, great to have you, man. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, so Phil, there's several cities and counties that have declared themselves right off the bat sanctuary cities for gun owners in preparation of the Democrats' gun grab, which is coming to Virginia. Can you break this down for us, Phil?
Yeah, and there are 23 as of last week, and we are expecting that number to blow well past 30, or maybe much more this week. And then next week, again, another bunch of them are all going to have hearings. So what they are, they're mostly counties right now. We've got one town, and we got more towns and some cities on the way, it looks like. We'll see how it all pans out. But what this is, look, the Second Amendment is, as the name implies, it's a constitutionally protected right. It's a natural right we have by just the fact that we're born and alive, but it's actually protected by the Constitution. We have lots of rights, but not all of them are specifically protected. And the Founding Fathers protected it because they knew it was one that the government would want to steal from you over time. And sure enough, that's exactly what's going on. The bills right now, SB 16 is a I Hate Gun Owners bill. It's just going after law-abiding gun owners and trying to basically would strip away our right to have a whole bunch of commonly used firearms. So sanctuary cities are saying, no, we're not behind this. We don't approve of it. And, we will stand against it. Now, they're limited as to what they can stand against. In many ways, it's more of a statement to the General Assembly that they totally disapprove of this path that the leadership of the Democrat Party seems to want to drag the Commonwealth down, no matter what. And a couple of things to consider. The sheriff in these counties is not obliged by what the county comes up with. He's an independent constitutional officer.
Right.
He only answers to the people. So does the Commonwealth attorney.
Right.
But many of them are saying, hey, if the county does this, then, if they're going to follow that path, then I'll follow that path. So then you'd have sheriffs that aren't arresting anybody for a violation, and maybe you'll have some prosecutors saying, I'm not prosecuting in those counties. But the fact that you're a constitutional, or basically the fact that you're one of these counties doesn't mean that the fight isn't on. Oh, no, if these bills become law, if every county did this, we'd still have a problem. We need to stop these horrible bills from becoming law.
Well, the question is, can you stop them, Phil, with the majorities that both that the House is bringing and the two-seat majority in the Senate, where the leader, I think, is in favor of the majority of these, Dick Saswell, the Godfather. Let's get to what you mentioned, SB 16. And one thing my audience hates is these acronyms. That's Senate Bill 16. What exactly is that? Who's the sponsor? Define that for us.
Well, SB 16 is sponsored by Beto Sasslaw. And he's sort of the reincarnation of Beto O'Rourke in the sense that he wants to take your guns away. And, of course, he's been saying for years, oh, no, nobody wants to take your guns away. Well, he does. The bill basically takes a whole bunch of semi-automatic firearms and says you can't have these anymore. The mere possession of them could be a felony. And there's no buyback of these guns. You just have to get rid of them.
So if you have one of this, just give me an example of one of the weapons, one of the guns in his bill. Just give me a solid, specific example of one of the weapons in his bill that if you owned it and the bill passed, you would be in violation of state law.
Okay, well, there's the AR-15, okay, which is one of the most popular rifles in America right now, and has been for a while. So if you own one of those or a pistol version, no can do. They have there are some shotgun models out there, just regular semi-automatic shotguns made by Remington and other popular companies that would also be outlawed. Some handguns. It's a lot of it. I mean, this is going to hit a big number. I mean, it's not just like one or two. Like when they did the street sweeper years and years ago, that was one particular model, very, very limited. This is not restricted like that. This is very big. This is a kitchen sink bill, too. I mean, it says you can't have a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds. It's just got one provision after another in it. It's sort of an omnibus.
Saslow was on my show last week, and he was pretty confident that he had 20 votes in the Senate to pass this. I mean, maybe he wouldn't have deeds, but he's got the tiebreaker vote. He's certainly got Morrissey. Joe's position on restricting gun ownership is very well known, although he is considered to be a moderate, not on that particular issue. So he's got Morrissey. So if he loses a Dem, he's got Fairfax to smack the tie. So, and he's got the votes in the House. So this thing is going to pass, and it's going to be signed by the governor. Nobody's going to be able to stop it. So my question is, and let's just make everybody aware of it. If SB 16 passes, does it have a name? Has he named it?
I don't know. They don't normally do that as much in Virginia as they do at the federal level.
Right, so it's just SB 16. If that passes, and I own one of the firearms that he's outlawed, or I own a 20-round magazine, and I actually own that, it's in my closet, what happens to me?
Well, technically, on July 1st, you could be charged with a felony.
For just owning it. And there's no buyback.
You have followed every law, you did everything legally, and suddenly, with a wave of a wand, you are suddenly in a position to be put in prison for having done nothing but simply owned a gun and let it sit in the closet, not harming anybody. And it's a constitutionally protected right. In fact, the Supreme Court, I think it was in the Heller case, was saying that any gun that's in common use is one that doesn't qualify to be restricted that way, to be taken away. It's clearly in common use, the AR-15 and most of the other guns this would cover. So, at that point, you may have to go to courts and have the courts maybe put a stay on the law becoming effective until the case can be heard, and you may have to take it all the way to the Supreme Court. There's also a case right now in the Supreme Court that could make all that moot anyhow, depending on how they rule.
Which is?
I don't have the names evading me right now, but it came, I think it's the one coming in from Massachusetts that they're going to be hearing, and it could well. I mean, we've been waiting for them to rule on some of these assault weapon ban cases.
All right, so let's bottom line this. Let's bottom line this. You're on the John Fredericks Radio Network, Trucking the Truth across America. I'm with Phil Van Cleave. He is the president and CEO of the VCDL. That is the Virginia Citizens Defense League. So far, 23 cities and counties in Virginia have voted through their city councils or their supervisors, depending if it's a city or a county, to make their entities sanctuary gun cities, which means that if any of this stuff is passed, technically the local authorities would not adhere to the law. Technically, of course, it's going to be up, like I said, each individual sheriff, Commonwealth's attorney, etc. But the big story here, Phil, because the 23 cities, it's going to go to 30, could go to 50, they're making statements. But at the end of the day, the number one bill that's in there is called SB 16. That's Senate Bill 16. It's sponsored by the incoming majority leader, the Godfather, Senator Dick Saslaw, one of the moderates on the Senate, in the Senate. and that is going to restrict a number of weapons, starting with the AR-15, AR-15 type automatic pistols, over 10 rounds of ammo. I just want to alert everybody, this is going to pass. There's nobody to veto this. He's got the votes in the Senate, right? Because there's only two moderates in there. Saslow, who's sponsoring the bill, and Morrissey, who is for gun restrictions. Now, he's pro-life and pro-business and all that. So even if they get one Dem voting no, Deeds, which is probably going to waver on it, they're going to break the tie in the Senate with Fairfax. They've got the votes in the House. This is one of the issues they got elected on, so they're going to pass that, if not something worse. Ralph Northam is going to sign it, and then what happens? Phil.
Yeah, well,
I mean, this is reality.
Right. I would argue that it's not going to be that simple of a cakewalk, and the reason I'm saying that is these counties, the gun owners rising up, they had 1,000 people show up for a Board of Supervisors meeting way out in Shenandoah. They've had this in Bedford. They've had huge turnouts in Amherst and others. There's big turnouts everywhere this is being done. This is going to put pressure on a lot of Democrats who've never had this pressure before. They've had all these gun owners, but they've been sleeping. They haven't been voting. They haven't been paying attention. So the Democrats have been able to ride easy ride in there because nobody's protesting. This is going to wake up people in those districts, and I think people like Edwards, Senator Edwards, and Senator Lewis on the Eastern Shore are going to be looking down, saying, "Uh-oh, this may be a problem for me if we pass this," and it will be a problem.
All right, so you might have
the courts is next.
You're gonna need two Democratic senators to vote no, right? I mean that's and I just get to the bottom of it when all the rallies are done and the protests are done. It's about votes. You're going to need two votes in the Senate to stop it. You've already got two of them. Your big moderate Morrissey's gone. He's in favor of it. So that leaves basically you got to get two people. It is going to pass the House because you have to remember, Phil. A lot of these Democrats that came in, they got their campaigns funded by who? Bloomberg, Soros, right?
This is all Bloomberg.
It's all Bloomberg money.
SB 16, if I were to title it, would be I hate gun owners bill.
Right.
But yeah, Bloomberg. He's the guy that's got 6 armed people around him the whole time that doesn't want the rest of us to have guns.
Right.
Secretly, he probably gulps down high sugary drinks that he doesn't want anybody else to have. He's probably addicted to them.
Right.
So anyhow, they're going to have to pay him back. But on the other hand, if in 2 years they're going to lose a whole bunch of Democrats for doing it, they may find a way around this. We'll see, but it's going to be a fight. We're not giving in. Like I say, the courts are definitely an option, and we will use that. We've got attorneys lined up and ready to go.
So if it passes and it's signed into law by Governor Northam, which he will sign it, because again, Saslow wouldn't go forward with this, put his name on it if he didn't have the votes. Okay, now you might be able to flip somebody. But if it gets to Governor Northam, he's going to sign it. Then what happens? What do you do next?
At that point, we will try to get an injunction against it because it's unconstitutional. In which case, we can hopefully get the courts to put a stay until they have a full chance to review it, and then it'll go wherever it has to go. The Virginia Supreme Court or up to the U.S. Supreme Court. Or maybe other places in between. Basically, we just try to keep it from going in effect if possible. If it goes in effect, then technically there's probably around 1 million people in Virginia that would be in a position to become felons.
That's it's unbelievable. Phil Van Cleave, President, Virginia Citizens Defense League, VCDL CEO. Phil, if this passes, if SB 16 passes as you coined it, I hate gun owners bill, and it's signed by the governor, would this be the most restrictive gun bill of any state?
I think it would. I think it puts us past Maryland, definitely, and yeah, it sure would. We'd be right up there. We would end up, and eventually with all the stuff that they want, if they got it, we'd have the crime rate that Baltimore has, or maybe Chicago or D.C. as criminals take advantage of this. But we would definitely be right there at the top on that.
All right, let me read a text here from Caleb in Virginia Beach. He said, "Yep, it's got a name. Van Cleave named it, and you're going to have a lot of pissed off veterans and military members who own those weapons who are now going to be considered a felon. How that helps Virginia, I don't know, because now the only people that have those types of weapons are the police and the criminals." I mean, that's just. I got about 30 texts here. I can just read one. So, I mean, this is a big issue, but again, in order to stop this, you're going to have to target politically two Democratic senators, because that's what you're going to need. Morrissey's off the table. That's kind of the moderate guy. You hope bails us out. He's gone in this issue.
He's never been moderate on guns.
No. I said he's moderate in general, but he is for restricting guns. He's been that way forever. So where you can count on Joe for right to work, you can count on Joe for a right to life third term, you can count on Joe for not raising minimum wage to $20 and some of the crazy stuff, you can count on him for that. He's with Dick Saslaw on SB 16, so he's gone. So I'm just doing the math, and I'm saying, okay, you need two senators. You're going to have to target. Maybe you get the senator on the Eastern Shore. Maybe that's your best bet, right?
Or Roanoke.
Lewis, but Edwards isn't going to. Edwards is going to retire. See, the problem with Edwards is he's not going to run for another term, so he doesn't care, right? So Edwards, you're not going to get Edwards, and he's never going to buck the system. So you got two guys, Deeds, in my judgment, Deeds in Bath County, who would be in big trouble if he voted for this, and Senator Lewis on the Eastern Shore, but he's got a big vote out of the Eastern Shore. That's how he won so easily. So if I were a betting man, the odds are in favor of SB 16 passing. And probably, if I were to break it down, Phil, Linwood Lewis on the Eastern Shore, who really would like to run for higher office, probably your best bet, right?
Well, he would be, but I just, I don't know. I just have, even though Edwards isn't going to run again, I don't know.
Edwards going to vote for it.
He used to be. He never used to be hard on negative on guns. He was very strong. He was one of the people we counted on, 5-6 years ago.
Well, I hope you're right, Phil. I hope you're right.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, I hope you're right. But when people are no longer accountable because he's not running for re-election, he's in his 80s, I just don't see him standing up to the system. What about Deeds? I'm almost out of time. What about Deeds in Bath?
Well, again, some of the counties he represents are those that are gun owners are active, have really woken up big time. If only all these people had voted.
Yeah.
We're just going to have to see.
Well, you're going to have to fight. I'm out of time, man. I got to tell you, a great segment. Phil Van Cleave, the president CEO of VCDL, Virginia Citizens Defense League, trying to fight this. But SB 16 is coming your way in Virginia. I predict right now it is going to pass and be signed by the governor. Then all hell breaks loose. Phil, thanks for being with us.